The general question is, can I drink alcohol while I'm on TRT? Um, I want to ensure that we're not biased, right? So completely unbiased. So I'll ask it this way. Um, if we're talking about 3 beers every single evening, will my body process that differently on TRT versus off TRT?
No, no. Testosterone is completely non-toxic to your own liver. It's bioidentical, so your body's not going to make something that is toxic to itself. Now, there can be byproducts of metabolism or metabolic waste that is not meant to stay in your body very long that can become toxic. So certain hormones through metabolites, we do know that some metabolites of estrogen are shown to be carcinogenic. And that does depend on the health of the individual because the liver does process a lot of things. So the liver is going to eventually break down certain hormones to get excreted through bile and then through your digestive intestinal tract and out through your bowel movement. And if your liver is not functioning properly or if it's stressed out, it may not be able to metabolize hormones correctly or efficiently. And then also having enough fiber in the diet to actually move things along, expedite things. I've had people that, would have, just a couple bowel movements a week. You should be going every day. But itself, testosterone is not toxic to the liver. Now, of course, alcohol is. I don't condone, alcohol use or consumption, but it's not going to change the way your body processes it whatsoever. So I do have some patients that admit that they do have a couple of drinks a day, and that's okay. That is going to change your health. I have had guys that, because of drinking, cause them to have high hemoglobin and hematocrit levels because of chronic inflammation that it causes and impairing liver health and so forth. And it may cause high blood pressure, ED. And I have seen in cases when guys, even for the weekend, went out and drinking and partying. Next, come Monday or Tuesday, they do blood work. Their estrogen levels shoot through the roof. They're sometimes double what they normally are. So, and again, that has to do with the liver properly metabolizing hormones. And if you overwhelm the liver, with alcohol because it's toxic, it has to go, get toxic treated. The liver is not going to effectively or efficiently metabolize the hormones and excrete them out the body the way it should. So then the hormone just starts building up and building up.
Yeah.
So
and for the sake of the question, all of that is the same on or off TRT, right? I mean, it's not. In fact,
but
I would argue maybe that that being on TRT, if you're drinking, you may be lowering your natural production, but if you're on TRT, you're not doing that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Replacing it. And having higher hormones, excuse me, back to where, if you're younger in your youth, you tend to recover quicker. So it may be able to offset or maybe help lessen a hangover.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Overall,
do you get that question?
I
ask,
do get it sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I always think it's
a
strange one, like why would it make a difference on TRT, off TRT? What's happening?
Well, it's I guess probably the concern because a lot of times in the media, testosterone is thrown in the same category as anabolic steroids.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of anabolic steroids that are known to be liver toxic. But clinically and chemically, if you look it up, that testosterone is not considered an anabolic steroid. All the anabolic steroids that have been invented are a modified form or version of the testosterone molecule. So the only one that is made in minute quantities that can be considered semi-bioidentical would be nandrolone or 19-nortestosterone. But I'm talking trace amounts.
Yeah.
So it's very, very little, not even bother worth measuring.
Cool. So this next one's pretty interesting. This came from the forum, and I'm on TRT, and I had a vasectomy a vasectomy a year ago. Ever since, my orgasms are off the charts to the point where I get lightheaded and feel as though I'm going to pass out, and they're worse when I'm standing. Anything to that?
Yeah, I'd probably say have sex laying down instead of standing.
So
You
he
don't
went
have a risk.
he went on to say that it gets to the point to where he has to like squat down, get on his knees, put his head between his legs, kind of recuperate.
Yeah, that might be a blood pressure issue. I would have it checked just to be sure.
Yeah.
But possible that the testosterone, because it is known to help improve nitric oxide production by the endothelial tissue or lining of your blood vessels, therefore enhancing blood flow. So that may be part of the increase in libido, is he may be able to achieve harder and more intense erections, therefore possibly orgasm. But otherwise, as far as being lightheaded, it might be a similar effect as well to, like, if you're sitting for a while and you stand up too quick and you're a little bit woozy. That may be a lag in the adrenal glands, because your adrenal glands produce adrenaline hormone and some other stress hormones. One of the functions is to elevate your blood pressure from when you're sitting to standing, so you don't get lightheaded from standing up so fast.
Yeah.
Now, if you do, and it happens often, then you may have some adrenal insufficiency, because the adrenal glands are instantly supposed to squirt adrenaline into your bloodstream right away at certain instances, such as if you get startled or scared right away, then all of a sudden, like in seconds, you're feeling your heart pounding.
Mm-hmm.
That's the fight or flight syndrome. And that's just one of the functions that it has. But then also that, so if someone's not getting enough sleep or they're overstressed or something like that, then that lightheadedness may occur more frequently. So, again, it could also be blood pressure related. So if it happens very frequently in that particular individual, I would be tracking his heart rate, blood pressure, throughout the day, before and after, sexual encounter, to see what's going on, and then possibly refer to a doctor.
Okay. Yeah. When he asked the question, he kind of got poked fun of, like, oh, how terrible for you. Your orgasms are amazing. We feel so bad for you. But then whenever he went more into detail about, potentially passing out, then I thought, yeah, this is probably worth asking.
Yeah. So unless you're just holding his breath, while it's so intense, I don't know.
Well, and I think, it may be due to like adrenaline, kind of like you're saying, but I know that like I can be doing my thing, no problem. And then as soon as I orgasm, I'm out of breath. I wasn't out of breath 4 seconds ago, but like, that's when my heart starts going and everything catches up. And it's like, oh crap, I was getting it. Is that adrenaline, or is that just because I'm distracted beforehand?
I don't know, because that's so kind of like exercise. When you're, say you're taking an all-out sprint, you're running as hard as you can. Well, you're not necessarily out of breath at that moment, but it's afterward when you stop. Then all of a sudden you realize, oh my God, I'm out of breath. I'm huffing and puffing. So there's kind of a lag period in the oxygen deprivation. So as your oxygen starts to get low, carbon dioxide building up, unless you actually were to go to the point, being so intense that now you feel it and you really have to back off, just as you do an all-out sprint, and to the point now your legs are burning, you're completely out of breath, your heart's pounding out of your chest. So it may be during that time period, because it'll literally those few moments right before you climax is when it's most intense. The whole body kind of gets tense, you're preparing for that, the moment. And, you can be a little bit out of breath, and then all of a sudden that moment happens. Now it's over. Now it's time to catch your breath. So yeah, sometimes in the heat of the moment, you may not realize how out of breath you might be until you stop.
Yeah, that
and
makes
it's
sense.
that kind of like that lag period. Now everything's catching up. All that lactic acid has to get cleared out, and so forth. So you may not necessarily feel like a lactic acid burn like you're working out, but there is lactic acid that's building up in the muscle tissue.
Yeah. Okay. And is the orgasm thing probably not related to the vasectomy?
I don't think directly related to the vasectomy, but it's always possible. Maybe it has something to do with nerves, that might have been possibly released from the procedure. So now it might be more sensitive, or be able to gain an erection more intensely, or it could be just TRT related. I don't know. It's still a little vague because it's just that's kind of like a symptom.
Yeah.
It's not very much detailed information. And it's not like we're having an examination or any further investigative questions.
Right.
So, but yeah, otherwise, I wouldn't be too concerned or worried about it unless, he were just so out of breath that he was going to pass out like last guy.
Yeah. Okay.